I wanted to make sure my children had the ability to be raised in a place where, if they're practicing their religion, there's others around them who are doing the same.
Welcome everyone with your program Peels of Yunnan, who unveil the most successful story and person here in UAE. Today from Dubai City with me, Dr. Dania Al Sammarae, the president of HSDA. Welcome, Miss.
Thank you very much for having me.
We are so happy to meet you today.
Thank you. Same pleasure is all mine.
So from the beginning, doctor, we need to know more details about you to present you for everyone.
I'm a physician by background. I was born and raised in the United States. I am Iraqi by origin, so Iraqiyya bil asl. Born and raised in the US, I spent majority of my life in the US. I trained, educated, did medical school there. And then I decided to move to the UAE. And I came with an American firm called Booz Allen Hamilton. Amazing company. It's a management consulting firm. So a lot of our work was working on mega projects across the Khalij, mostly in the UAE and in Saudi. Amazing experience. I was coming from medicine, so moving all the way from medicine to now the business side of healthcare was incredible. I did that for a bit, and then I decided to take a risk, and I co-founded a company called Anglo-Arabian Healthcare. Anglo-Arabian Healthcare, what we were doing is buying into businesses, whether it was clinics, hospitals, pharmacies, labs, anything on the provider side of healthcare. We would improve the business, we would invest in the business, and then look at seeing how we could exit. So we did that for a number of years. We were quite successful. And then it was time to move on and do something new. And so I set up HSDA with my husband.
Yeah. When we start, you said that you have this background, medical background. This background is not easy with many challenges. What's the challenge of your life from the beginning?
So studying medicine is tough. It takes your entire life. From the time you wake up in the morning until you go to sleep, you are studying or you're working. You really have to train in so many different aspects, and it is quite difficult. It is quite challenging. It's difficult when you see others, especially when you're in college and you're in university and you're young and you want to go out, but you can't because you have to sit at home and you need to study for the exam that you're going to have. In addition, I did a lot of clinical research. So what I would do is wake up very early, around 6 in the morning, go to the hospital, have my rounds, see patients, everything that you typically do in a day, finish around 4 or 5 if I was lucky, and then I would go to the lab to start doing research in the lab. I wouldn't really get home until about 9 or 10 p.m. But I did that because in medicine especially, you need to do things to really stand out. So for me, it was research so that I would be able to get into a very good training program. So the biggest thing in medicine is really you devote your entire life to it. It is very, very difficult to have a social life. It's difficult to be able to spend a lot of time outside of school or outside of the hospital. However, the positive to it is that you really learn an incredible amount. You connect with people, you help people in times where they are stressed, when they're in a need. So while there is a sacrifice in terms of your time and your energy, the positive side to it is just how much you can help people, and that really is where a lot of the job satisfaction comes from it. But yeah, I would say probably the most challenging thing was it really you have to devote your life to it.
With professional experience and a big background, academic background, you're coming for UAE before more than 10 years. So why UAE?
Yes, so I actually came to the UAE in 2007 with this management consulting firm. At the time was called Booz Allen Hamilton. I am Iraqi origin. So even though I was born and raised in the United States, we are a Muslim, a family. My parents still raised us as if we were in Baghdad, so they didn't care that we're in the United States. I mean, if I wanted to go out when I was younger, I was a teenager, I had to take my brother with me. So, you know, that's still the Arab values in the culture. And honestly, I wanted to raise my children in it. I think the UAE especially, it has a lot of Western influences. The infrastructure is amazing. The opportunities for work here are amazing. But at the same time, it's an Arab and a Muslim country. So when it's Ramadan, everybody's fasting with you. Whereas when I was in the US, you are fasting by yourself. And if you're breaking fast, you're doing it by yourself. I don't know how many times I had iftar in my car outside of, you know, finishing work at the hospital. It's a very different way of doing things. So I wanted to make sure my children had the ability to be raised in a place where, you know, if they're practicing their religion, there's others around them who are doing the same.
Dr. Dania, if I ask you about the medical system in Dubai or in UAE in general, what do you think about it? Today, Dubai is like the best destination for the medical healthcare or for tourism, medical tourism. Your vision about this point?
Medical tourism, especially after COVID, after a lot of the restrictions have been lifted from COVID, UAE is a fantastic destination for it. So I've been working with King's College Hospital London in Dubai for the last almost 4 years. And we really saw an increase in this. Now, on the one hand, the hospital I was working with is a Western brand. It's part of King's College Hospital in London. So it's very well known. So a lot of patients who are coming from sub-Saharan Africa, from Central Asian countries, they know the brand from being in the UK already. Now, it's very difficult for them to access the UK, for some people. For some, it's too far. I mean, when you're sick, the last thing you want to do is get on a plane for 10 hours and go all the way to the UK. So Dubai is giving that accessibility for high quality care in a place that's so much more accessible. I mean, it's 3 hours, 4 hours for most Central Asia or for most sub-Saharan African countries. The rest of the Middle East, I mean, we had a lot of patients coming to us from Iraq, for instance. I mean, there was every week almost one patient coming from Iraq. So the good thing is that it's just the location of it, the ease of being able to come here. Medical visas are quite easy to get, especially when the hospital applies on behalf of the patient. So you have ease of access, you have fantastic physicians here, you have fantastic hospitals now. The quality of care is really, really high now. The regulators here do a fantastic job of holding all of the facilities accountable. So this is a great thing. It's a good thing that gives patients some comfort. So I think it's only going to triple, quadruple from here. I don't see any limit for the growth in medical tourism here.
In one time, Dr. Dania, she think to open a business, private business. The idea from where and who's the person who support you to do it?
So the first business I set up, co-founded, was Anglo Arabian Healthcare, and this was in 2011. And to be very frank, it's my husband who always supported me and pushed me and told me to take these risks. Mm-hmm. He is not only my husband and not only the father of our children, but my closest advisor. Literally any kind of questions or advice or opinions that I need, I always seek from him, and he always helps me to look at things, take a step back and look at things from a rational point of view. So without his support and without his advice, I don't think I would have taken these risks.
To be a doctor and to be a businesswoman is not easy to do this combination. How you do it, doctor?
So it is very difficult. It is quite challenging at times, especially when you're running on very little sleep. But again, one of the things that has just been so fantastic in my life is my husband and his support. I mean, he really it's a 50-50 partnership with us. So if I have to travel, which I've been going to Saudi Arabia a lot recently, then he will take the children to school. So it's not all of the responsibility and all of the work is on me. Like, alhamdulillah, I have a husband who I can share a lot of the load with. The second thing, I have 3 fantastic nannies. So I have 2 children, but with the support of 3 nannies who really help us around the clock, wouldn't have been possible otherwise.
HSDA, this is the company of Dr. Dania. Today we need to speak also about this project, what you have is service, what you have exactly the team that you choose it with you.
So thankfully, the team are people I've worked with before, whether at Anglo-Arabian or King's College Hospital. So it's people that are very strong in healthcare. It's a healthcare management company. So what we do is if somebody is looking at setting up a hospital, let's say from an investor point of view, they don't know how to commission the hospital, which means to start up the hospital. So what kind of staff should you bring? What services should you have? What equipment should you buy? Even the design of the hospital, how should you design the facility and how it should look like? So all of that are things that we help with. And many times we come in as the management team, so I will function as the CEO, I will function as the chief commercial officer, the chief operating officer, chief strategy officer, kind of do that role for them and help them to bring on people on a more permanent basis to come on board as that permanent management team.
Today when we speak about business, we speak about strategy, some plan. You fixed this plan, Dr. Dania, and if I ask you about your future vision for this company?
So I think one of the great things is, as we were just talking earlier, the entire Gulf is going through a transformation. There is a lot more investment, a lot more infrastructure development across the region. Saudi is a very good example of that. I mean, with the 2030 vision, there is really a focus on privatization, on increase of services, whether that's healthcare, whether that's tech, etc. So for a company like ours, there's so much opportunity, and I see that going on for the next 30, 40 years probably. Right now we have multiple projects going on. We've done projects in Oman. We've set up a private hospital there. We've done a stem cell facility in Qatar. We have set up hospitals in Saudi. And there's no decrease, there's no slowing down. Every day I keep seeing more and more work, more and more interest to develop further facilities. Now, one of the things that we do, because some of us worked in strategy companies before, like I was with Booz Allen Hamilton before, what we do is sometimes first work with the investors to say, okay, look, you're setting up one hospital. You want to set up another 2 or another 3. First, let's take a step back. What is your strategy? What do you like to accomplish? You have a certain funding amount. What are you trying to get from that funding amount? And then there's also that's the business side. There's also okay, you're looking at diversifying your portfolio, or you're looking at setting up something with more strategic value. You're investment house or a private family with a lot of wealth who now want to do something that's more on the contributing to society side versus something that generates a high IRR. So we work with them to first develop their strategy and then say, okay, look, if this is what you're trying to accomplish, whatever their key objectives are, then work on what kind of healthcare platform would make the most sense for them. Should they have a group of hospitals with feeder clinics? Should they go into labs, pharmaceutical, whatever it is that kind of suits their objectives, that's where we work first. And then there's the actual execution. So after developing that strategy, it's sitting with them to actually execute and say, okay, now we're going to help you deploy this funding. We're going to take on the work. We're going to sit with you. We're going to develop the staffing plans, develop the protocols for the facility, look at the equipment that needs to be purchased, go through all of the rounds of negotiation and specifications and things that we need to settle on for the equipment. To really be able to develop that facility, that hospital as an example, until it's open. And then stay on with them even after that to help them make sure that they're reaching targets or they're reaching objectives for the hospital as it grows.
After so much great step that you do it, after this successful story and experience, if I ask Dr. Dania about the success, what means from your side today, this word?
I think, there's obviously aspects of, you have financial success, you have success where more and more people know who you are. For me, the best part of it is when you've really done a fantastic job and the person that you're working with or the clients or the investors or whoever it is you're working with acknowledge that and they see that and they know that it's happening and you've done, that for me is success, because when you've really done a very good job. An example, let's say with one of my previous hospitals that we set up, we were going through COVID, and it was every day, you know, you didn't know what was going to happen, especially in the early beginning, the early part of the pandemic. It was very difficult to know what was going to happen next. What was this virus? How were we going to treat it? What was going to happen in terms of the regulations around us? And so being able to stay on your toes and figure out solutions very quickly, and solutions that worked. Not only for the staff of the hospital to make sure that nobody, you know, I mean, especially when you're dealing with almost 1,000 staff and everybody's worried and everybody's scared what's happening next, and patients are coming in and they're sick and the patients are scared. Being able to maneuver through that and manage through that, and do well both from a quality point of view, knowing that the patients who came through, that the staff were protected, the patients had the best care that they could have, but also be able to manage it, because these are private hospitals, so be able to manage it commercially to keep it afloat. So you don't have to ask investors for further funding or further support to develop the facility. That was probably the most, from a success point of view, being able to step back and say, wow, okay, look what we were able to do. So it's not always just from a financial point of view or from reputation point of view, but being able to say, okay, look, we did a great job for the staff, we did a great job for the patients. From the shareholders' point of view, everybody feels calm, feels like, okay, we're going in the right direction, even through a very, very choppy period.
Dr. Dania, today you are an example for many persons, for the new generation, for many women, that from your side we need a motivational message for this person that have a dream for success.
Okay, well, I think one of the things to keep in mind when you're trying to set up a business and you're starting from scratch, it can feel very daunting. It can feel like, many days, it can feel like you are not accomplishing anything. It can feel like you're getting nowhere. It makes you doubt yourself. It makes you think that you need to stop, you need to give up, you need to go back to whatever else you were doing. I mean, at one stage I left a very, very nice job. It was paying me very well. I was very comfortable, very safe, very professional environment. And I left that to set up a company. And we were working out of a golf club. And we were looking for investors, and we were trying to get partners to work with us. And it was so difficult. After months, I really thought maybe I made the wrong decision and I should take a step back and go back to employment. But if you keep going, if you really believe in what you're doing and you think you're really going to make a difference, whether it's for yourself, whether it's for other people, you stick with it. There is light at the end of the tunnel. You get to see that success. It's just, it always goes after going through the darkest period.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Today you have this big experience also in UAE, in Dubai especially. This country, it will be the country for business, for success, for family also for you. So from your side also we need this message for UAE, for the government, for the person who helped you here.
Wonderful. Well, look, for me, there is no place I want to live more than the UAE. I've already given my personal explanations in terms of our, our cultural values and our religious beliefs. But honestly, it is one of the aspects I love, especially coming from the United States, is how safe it is. My children both go to school here. They have fantastic schools here. They are safe. They have so many activities. There is so many things that they can do, whether it's soccer, piano, ballet. Oh my God, my kids are signed up for everything. And it's the ease of access of all of these things. Nothing compares to the UAE in terms of how everything is so easily accessible. And I think one of the other things that I really, really think has made a difference, especially for expats in the UAE, is the golden visa. Thankfully, I was invited to have the golden visa. Now my family has it, my children. So even though we already consider the UAE home, even though we already consider that we're going to be here for the long term, having that golden visa just solidifies it even more.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dania Al Sammarae. We are so happy to meet you today, like a great example of doctor, great example also of businesswoman. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, everyone. See you next week with Pearls of Yunnan program. Bye-bye.